Here we go. We're back and Pamela's ready. So hopefully you are too. Today we are working hummingbird and its sister pose, both variations that come out of your figure four standing, but we'll also take it while you're seated, from seated figure four. So towards the end of practice, when you're thinking, oh sweet Jesus, what is this? Don't worry, go for it. And then we'll set up the same thing from the ground up, just like we did in Titi-Basana. And then you'll figure out which one works a little bit easier for you. So Ekapada Galvasana, which is going to be a one-legged figure four posture while flying. And your hummingbird. So here we go. Okay. We're going to start in, on your back. We're going to set up as though you were going to find bridge pose. We won't go there. But you want to heel your feet a little wider to find the edges of your mat. Once you feel the edges of your mat, we're going to let both knees fall over in one direction. So gravity first. You might feel as though I should be taking a white chalk line around you. That's okay. For 3. All right, notice where you feel the stretch. It's going to give you a little bit of information to work with, a little bit of focus. We're staying here for another 3 or 4 breaths so that if it feels okay, you could hook your foot, your heel over the top of your knee. If that is too much of a stretch, then just don't do it. But if you have it, then you're going to start to breathe a little more fully, expanding the ribs, drawing the low ribs away from your hip, just drawing in some length through the torso. Keep your little bit of figure four. If you weren't working it, go ahead and hook the heel so that as you leave that figure four, come up through figure four and leave that foot right on the ground. We're going to peel in the other direction so your sole of your foot comes to the floor. It's just gravity. Now, some of us, gravity will take our knee towards us. In other cases, you might feel your knee start to move, falling away from you. No one place is better. It's just based on your body. So wherever gravity has taken you, that's perfect. You're going to linger here 4 and just kind of play dead in the hip. Again, breathe fully. Working the exhales to sink and release any tension in your body is key. For 2. Keep the figure four, but come up through center. We're going to work figure four on your back. So lace your arms. One's coming through between the thighs. You can reach for the back of your thigh or the front of your shin. Yep. Interlace the hands, a little flex the toes. You're not looking to force anything here. So it's just the gentle draw of your thigh in your direction. You want a fair amount of stretch, but not too much where you start to cut off the breath. That's always a good indication of where the balance is. So 3. We're going to wind up in a super hinged figure four. So this is kind of what we're working today. Hips, hips, more hips, which means on the back side, lots of stretch through the glutes, hamstrings. You might feel it into your low back depending on how tight your body is. But for now, as you start to release, left foot comes down, extend the leg, and whatever foot was on top is coming right across your body, full supine twist. So scooch the hips if you'd like. Maybe the focus is on drawing some stretch through the front of your shoulder. 5, 4. So again, we're not going to try and muscle our way through these. It does require a little bit of that low plank strength, of course. But more times than not, it just requires a little more time to stretch into these postures. That's all. So if that's what's happening today, then give yourself that time. You can be ahead, be behind, hit pause anytime you'd like. Or keep cycling through this class a couple times. You might be surprised where that takes you, because often that integration, so to speak, that you get as we try to come into these postures, that strength, is what's going to facilitate a little more stretch. So as you breathe yourself back through center, we'll set up those bridge legs, toe heel, feet nice and wide. Feel the edges of your mat. Knees are going to fall in the opposite direction. Yeah. And it's just gravity. Some of us knees come right to the floor. Some of us, it's going to take several breaths to move even in that direction. No worries. So a lot of this work we do to get into these arm balances is closely related to how we get into inversions, right? The idea of lifting the bum, shoulder stability, wrists. Sometimes it's low plank arms. Uddiyana Bandha, the core work. But really this balance that we're trying to find, this balancing act really, is the same in every posture. Right? Often if you've taken my class in Utkatasana, I'll cue you to move way back to find the heels, to lift the balls of your feet. You want to treat everything as an arm balance, to find that neutral space where there's less work, less stress, more ease. And these are a nice way to find that, or at least start to play with it. So you're going to hook the heel over the top of your thigh for 3-ish breaths. Flex toes a little. If it's too much of a stretch, that's okay. Just know that's where we're headed before we come back to figure 4 on your back. But big breaths, expand the ribs. Try to move the low ribs away from your hip bones as you breathe, drawing the belly in. And if you're not there, that's where we're headed. Coming up, we'll bring it right across. So figure 4, supine twist. Sole of the foot comes down. Yep, you can bring this right like so. Yeah. So you'll be a little different side to side. We'll certainly be different from one another. So as mentioned, the top knee will either fall towards you or away from you. It really doesn't matter. It's just based on where your body's at. And then often side to side, we're going to be a little bit different. We tend to be dominant on one side or the other. So whatever's happening is great. You're just playing dead for a few breaths here, sinking towards your mat. You know, let gravity and the pose do most of the work. Right, paying attention to the hips. Where in the hip is tight, mobile, less mobile, sore even, you know, whatever's happening in the body, but it'll give you a good indication of where you need to focus in these hip stretches. So keep the figure 4, come up through center, but this is where we'll stay. We'll start to bring that thigh towards you. Flex toes a little, and you can lace your arms through either to grab the backs of your thigh or the shin. Up to you. We're just drawing the shoulders gently behind us, gently pressing them down so there's still a little bit of length in the spine, a little bit of foundation there. Thoracic between the shoulders, right up to meet cervical spine, a little tuck of your chin maybe. 3. And no worries, there's plenty of work around the corner, so taking the time to set up your hips is where it's at. You take one more breath, and as you start to release, bottom leg extends, top leg is going to peel over, supine twist, full twisties, 4-ish. Maybe the focus is on the stretch in the front of the shoulder, or stretching through your breath for 2. And then gently draw yourself back. Yeah, as you tuck knees and rock and roll your way up through seated, we're going to set up half pigeon, so you can take a leg, whirl it behind you. And if you tend to take it on your back, obviously we were just there, you could always come back to there, or you can stay a little bit lifted. You might take a block underneath the right bum cheek, so you're literally lifted away from the floor. Couch cushion, pots, pans, literally anything will do. You could keep your heart lifted, or if it feels comfortable, find your forearms. And give or take, your knees are in line with your hips. That back heel you want to feel in line with the joints so that it's not splayed out to the side, heel's not sickling. the foot, and that front heel is going to go wherever's most comfortable on your joints. So we'll be placing ourselves a little more on purpose with deeper stretch in just a moment, so try to maintain this little bit of ease for yourself here. For 3. Soft shoulders, soft jaws, maybe a little stretch for the neck, 2. And then we're going to take it to the other side. So nothing too fancy on the in-between, just kind of getting it done. Unless there's anything that feels particularly good to you and you have plenty of time, by all means. But again, still paying attention to the differences side to side in your hips. Maybe the tension is going to be in your hamstring or what feels like maybe a glute or IT band, right? A little bit different for each of us. And certainly side to side, and again, a little bit of focus as to where you need to have a little more articulation around, perhaps when we try to get into your hummingbird. 5-4. Going to let in a little bit of neutral space where you are. And then take some of that with you as you start to exit your half pigeon. We're going to move towards table to downward facing. So try not to add much work to your down dog. Just try to bring some awareness to fanning out the fingers, starting to squeeze the wrists. We're going to take your right leg to the sky. We're going to peel open. As you exhale, extend, reach the right leg to the right side wall. So stay in down dog, but leg reaches right on over. You want to feel the work in that lifted leg, outer line. Take one more breath, and then peel it up and open, and step through to low lunge. This time, pause. You can even bring your back knee down. That's okay here. We'll lift and find some prayer palms, and we'll take a little crescent twist. So maybe you're hooking the elbow if it feels better to open arms. That's great, but we are working towards getting the torso, pressing it towards the thigh. Again, a little deeper in the hinge. For 3, it's going to require a little bit of twisting to get into hummingbird today. For 2. And then gently release the palms. Windmill up, maybe to warrior 2, or maybe you wanted just a sun A, or you're stepping back to down dog, right? Lots of options. If you went for warrior 2, land it, flip the palms, go ahead and reverse it, and then chaturanga or not, up to you. But if you open your heart, take time, maybe knees are up or down, could be sphinx, locust. But eventually hips are up and back and left leg is reaching. 3-legged dog, peel open first. And then we'll extend to the side wall. So reaching it over. Awesome. 2. Work that outer line of the leg right down to the ankle. And stepping forward to a lunge. All right, we're going to set up the twisted lunge. So whether you're opening arms, dropping the back knee, prayer palming the twist here, move slowly. Inhales to lengthen that press of the elbow is to kind of press away from the thigh as well as you rinse. And to press the shoulders down, finding a little more like Tadasana shoulders, right? Familiar space. 3. Squeezing the belly. 2. And whether you windmill all the way to warrior 2 or you're stepping for a sun A or to down dog, find a little bit of flow. If you're in warrior 2, flip palms, reverse it, and then we'll release to chaturanga. Your version of it, maybe it's cat and cows, extended puppy, but eventually hips are up and back, and we're going to step that right foot forward to warrior 1. Take a big reach. And as you press forward, wrap figure 4. Back leg comes up and over. And you can prayer palm it. Flex toes. You're going to start to hinge from the hips, and then maybe 3 breaths just to hinge. See where you get. Some days it might be a while till we get backs of elbows reaching in front of the shins. So like we've taken a couple times before, like crow and side crow, we're going to extend the arms and kind of reach for the floor. So you want to press the foot into, you got to press that foot into, yes, dry off all the sweat. Foot is pressing into the back of your elbow. So elbows stay right at the shins, faces nearly at the ground, but gaze is looking up. So don't worry about lifting the leg, just find the initial balance first. So there's a leg extension that's about to happen, which results in mostly flopping onto the mat. But first things first, bend the elbows, bring your face to the ground, find that little bit of balance. And if you want to extend the leg, go for it. Yeah, so you might take that a time or two, but then simply come back to downward facing, and we're going to try it on the other side. Right, the other side. for better or worse, yeah. This one in particular, I tend to be a little drastically different side to side in terms of strength. So step forward, left foot, warrior 1. Big sweep up, and we're going to sweep right into figure 4. Back foot comes over. Right, sits bones way back, hinge at the hip. So all about sticking your biscuits way back. You're in the heel. Hinge. If it takes you a few more breaths to be able to get elbows on the front of your shins, take as much time as you need. Palms come down, pressing in. And Pamela's doing like the hardest version as she slips all sweaty. The one-legged part is hard. Maybe it's hard too, but so anytime we do figure 4 in class, this is an option, right? You can stick with just lifting the back toes. And over time, if you keep bending elbows, leaning a little forward, you can work on extending the leg. If you don't have a human there for the go-go gadget arm, you might just plop out of it. That's okay. No worries. We're going to get right into hummingbird with whatever energy you have left. It's so funny, right? You come into these poses and that you burst through some serious energy. So you might need a little snack, some hydration. Don't be shy about taking it. I get exhausted just watching y'all. But I'm also familiar with the plummet that happens pretty quickly. So we're going to come into figure 4 again, but this time we're going to come straight into a twist. This is also where people get often stuck, myself included, depending on the day. Yeah, as you set up figure 4, it's the hinge first, but we're taking a twist to hook the elbow on the sole of the foot. So that's a huge range of motion that's required. So maybe you're working the wrist, the forearm, maybe you got the elbow, and this is where you're at. So I know Pamela tends to be particularly sweaty, but again, keep the elbow. I'm making her do so much work. Keep the hook of the elbow, extend the arms towards the floor, and bend the elbow. We're gonna try that one more time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so if you did that and you survived, extra points. It really is, so okay. We'll do it again. And then you've done the hardest thing, which is fall out of one of these postures, so.
All right. Thank you.
So, we find a little bend in that elbow. Yeah. 98%. Yeah, so we're going to take it on the other side, right? Nailed it and then fell, getting closer. So the trick here, you couldn't see it maybe because you're on the other side, but I'm going to get Pamela to extend the leg, the under leg. You kept bending the knee. We want to extend it because that's the strength that you're using to press off your elbow, is this little straight, strong leg. So we're going to take the twist to the other side. Again, take all the time you need to set this up. She's hooking the elbow. Yeah. Go, go, gadget.
I think we're going to do
Otro más. These are the best parts, right? Case in point.
Okay. All right.
So suddenly I stopped talking you through, but that's good. So we're going to do it one more time. So remember, figure 4. We got a towel for the sweaty elbows. Hook the elbow. Arms extend down to the mat. Yeah. Yeah. It's this magical leg. So, case in point, having not warmed up, get as low as you can, right? Hook the elbow, which is harder than it looks. Palms come down, and we're going to extend that underleg. And then breakdance out of it. That's like the other part, right? Nice job. We're going to come onto your belly, and we're going to take a little bit of rest. We're going to get the space back in the front of your hips. Arms out to a T. And left hand's going to stay down. We'll use your right hand to roll the right leg to fall slowly behind you. Yeah. So you can do straight legs, or you can bend a knee. Whatever allows you to relax a little bit more. Again, it's going to be different for each of us. Letting your heart rate come down. Letting yourself melt into the floor. And then come through center. It's kind of an evil trick because we're going to do this from the seated position, but psych. No, we're really going to do it. Feel that left leg behind you, roll open. So just like TT Basana, coming from the floor in some ways will help you build more strength and familiarity with the pose and enable you to come from standing figure 4 into it. And some ways coming from standing into it is a little easier because all of the weight is already above your elbows, right? Just like side to side, one will work better. Notice which parts of it work better from each approach. And then you can just destroy it a number of times. But eventually it'll work. As you come through center, and maybe you shimmy, shimmy, but eventually find your palms, and we're going to press up through tabletop and cross your legs. Come on to your bum. We're going to set up a figure 4. So we're going to take your, you're going to come right up onto your bum, so you're going to sit up a little.
Oh, sit.
Yep, it's a little bit of work. We're going to figure 4 your left foot over the right. But now keep your foot down, yep, and voila. So yeah, the first thing we do is start to move this way. So we're going to leave this foot planted and take your hands behind you. Yep. Now your fingers can face either direction, whatever's comfortable on your wrist, but we want to flex the toes. It's like 80% of the pose somehow. So you can walk them in either now or as you lift your butt. So the key is when you lift your butt, leave your palms planted, keep your butt lifted, but move your butt towards your heel. Go back and forth a couple times. See how this works? Sometimes we're wondering how to get there, but eventually a couple of times it's a little more familiar. So now as you bring your butt to your heel, walk your palms in a little. Yeah, flex these toes. I know, they stop listening. Move the weight into the right hand. So weight is moving that way. This elbow is going to come towards that. Now, obviously, she gets a little assist. You don't. Sorry about that. We're hooking the elbow. We're bringing the palm down and starting to lift the butt and move the fingers. And we're going to magically come into it.
I'm so tight. I can't.
I know.
I can't.
So, right, remember I said one way works better. When gravity is helping squish you into the pose, that is helpful. This coming from the floor up requires a little more strength. So we're going to mirror each other, right? We set up the hook of the heel. Bum comes towards the heel. We're going to stay lifted. Now make note, these fingers have to move a little bit so that as I bring the elbow over, right, now I have a little bit of leverage to kind of press myself here. As I bring the palm down, I got to lift my butt. Keep looking out in front of you, and then lift. So try that on the other side, right? Lift in figure 4, that bad boy. Find the mobility, leave the hip, your bum by your heel, and move the weight. So that alone is a lot of work and balance, and then you have room to kind of press yourself. Exactly. 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 Almost.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you can play with that a little bit today. But again, notice you weren't thinking about wherever you were going to run off to, whatever work you had to do, or chase after your kids, whatever's going on in your life. So brilliant. Nice work, y'all. We'll see you next time. Toodles.